thoughts?
I think it's great. It's been here.
So, if I drink, I can understand Chinese.
I know. Well, then I can speak Italian to you too.
Huh?
今天要一起喝的果汁呢，是来自于北义的平蒙区，也就是 Piemonte， 有着140年以上的历史的凯撒酒厂 Pio Cesare， 创立于1881年，是酿造北义的 Barolo 跟 Barbaresco 酒款的佼佼者，在 Pio Boffa 先生的带领下。Pio Cesare 酒厂呢酿造出的酒款呢，在10年内获得4次的百大酒款，其中2次竟然还都进了前10名，以及2022年呢 Barbera de Alba 呢也获得 Wine Spectator 的百大，还有其他酒款呢也获得 Wine Enthusiast 的百大。它每年在国际的品酒上呢都有95分或以上的高分，也证明了 Pio Cesare 这个酒厂140年的雄厚的实力以一贯的品质。今天我要介绍的呢是第5代传人 Cesare Benvenuto， 现在在 Pio Cesare 酒厂呢的第5代由 Pio Boffa 的先生的女儿 Federica Boffa， 还有他的侄子 Cesare Benvenuto 一起接手经营。我们邀请来呢，他跟我一起喝果汁，分享故事。Let's go, man. Hi, Cesare. Welcome to Taiwan.
Thank you.
Yeah, when's the last time you were here?
I was here in 2017 for my last time, but I clearly remember the first time I came here was back to 1998.
Glad to have you back in Taiwan, but now we would like to talk about the grapes. Most of the people know Piemonte, but when it comes to grape, they're not familiar with Nebbiolo and they're not familiar with Barbera. So mostly they're familiar with international grapes like Cabernet Sauvignon, Merlot, Pinot Noir, and others. So can you give us a few bullet points or tips, okay, about these two very important grapes that is grown and indigenous to Piemonte?
Nebbiolo and Barbera over than 150 years ago have found the perfect location all around the world because we have the influence from both the ocean and the mountains. In many other parts of the world, like in California, Australia, they've tried to cultivate this grape variety, but without the same great quality success that we have in our region. So Nebbiolo and Barbera are very shy, but once you get close to this grape varietal, you will be friends forever.
Well, let's now talk about the winery Pio Cesare. My understanding that many innovation was made when your uncle, Mr. Pio Boffa, was managing the winery. So what is his vision?
His vision was totally oriented to respect what his father and his grandfather made for over than 60 years at the winery. Tradition, but with a very careful eye on the innovation. We are quite flexible, and this is the demonstration is inside our bottles. And we moved completely to making top quality wines. We started to make Chardonnay, that we were one of the first to make Chardonnay in our region. We started to make the single vineyard Barolo, Barbaresco, Barbera, so a little bit of innovation without losing the roots of our family, of over than 100 years of history of my family. But in our point of view now, the main difference between traditionalist and modernist, we have the wines Barolo and Barbaresco with the classical label. In the classical label is the tradition, which means blending different vineyards inside the same appellation. So the traditional way to make Barolo or Barbaresco or Nebbiolo is to blend different vineyards inside one bottle of wine or inside the same cask.
So
modernists are making more oriented to the single vineyard attitude. So the best expression of that particular single vineyard. We can say that, sorry if I repeat myself, that Pio Cesare is a very traditional brand with a very careful eye on innovation, which means that we make very traditional wines and a little production of more particular wines.
Just to clarify, the tradition is usually a blend of many different lots and
Yes.
vineyards, okay,
Right.
and into one bottle.
Yeah.
And the modern, which is the trend, is the modern world. They like the more single vineyard. We have wines here, so we have to drink it.
Yes.
But before we drink it, can you please brief introduction of the 2019 vintage of the Barolo and the Barbaresco? We're launching this year.
We are very happy about 2019 because the reputation of 2018 worldwide is highly regarded.
Okay.
Because it's considered one of the most important, most quality vintage of the last 20 years. 2018 was much more approachable, softer, so more ready to be appreciated when it's young. 2019 is a little bit more, let's say, difficult because it totally reflects the character of the wines of Piemonte. So very, very shy, with a very nice acidity, full of tannins, which will take a little bit more time to be appreciated. But for sure, 2019 is a vintage and wine for great collectors.
I've always wanted to ask you about this. It's very interesting how you have, the meaning of the logos of the single vineyard wines. So why you have all these different circles and logos on the...
Pio Cesare was founded in 1881, so
Yes.
142 years ago.
Yes.
And Pio Cesare, my great-great-grandfather,
Okay.
applied this label on his wines since day one. And on this label, there are these medals, sort of medals, that he won in wine competition in the late 1800s, early
19th century.
Yes,
Okay.
exactly. And he applied these medals on the label. And this is the classical and traditional label of Pio Cesare with this medal. Then when in the middle of the 80s we started to make the single vineyard, in particular this one, Barolo Ornato, we had decided to change the label for this single vineyard. The medals that were on the classical label, one on top of the other. That is more or less the meaning of the circle on the label of the single vineyard.
Besides the wine is great, but I've always been very curious about the length of the cork from Pio Cesare. Okay, it is normally longer compared to the others. So does it affect the quality of aging, or what is the reason behind it?
I like to see when people open our bottles all around the world, a very nice cork. If they are a little bit longer, it's a question of beautiness of the corks. Keeping 7-8 cork supplier, we always make the very nice stress to them in order to give us the best quality corks.
Could you let our fans know that in terms of ratio, for example, a synthetic, a cheap cork, how much would an expensive cork be?
20 times more.
20 times?
Yes.
20 times?
20 times, yes.
But not only that it's 100% real, but it is also the top quality.
See, top quality. Selection of the top quality corks from Spain and Portugal.
Okay.
100%.
I've also noticed something very similar. This is a 2015 one, and it says, please don't call it regular. I think that's really, really cool. But afterwards, it changed to
Barolo Pio or Barbaresco Pio.
Why the change in the label?
Many people, many producers, many journalists used to say Barolo or Barbaresco without the single vineyard name, regular Barolo, regular Barbaresco.
Okay.
And in particular, my uncle Pio Boffa was very, very angry. He decided to write from 2012 vintage, please don't call it regular. In a very polite way. From 2017 vintage, we made this provocation and we decided to call it as with the real name of this wine. Pio means not just Pio Cesare, but the philosophy of my family, which is blending super single vineyard in Barolo or in Barbaresco inside one bottle. In the bottle of Barolo Pio, there are 7 different single vineyards wines. We can make 7 single vineyards Barolo, for example, but we make one bottle.
But you blend the best out of the 7
Exactly,
into...
exactly.
All right, last but not least, can you please share your opinion about drinking young Barolo and young Barbaresco? Do you think that it is different from the recent years? The concept of always have to age wine change?
Aging Barolo and Barbaresco nowadays 3 years in oak And every 2 months, 3 months, we move the wine from one cask to another cask in order to give oxygen, to give more freshness. For sure, the taste of Barolo Barbaresco young, it is very evident the tannic character. In the years to come, this tannic character will be much more integrated in the taste of the wine. So you will have a very soft and approachable Barolo or Barbaresco in 10 years, 20 years. If you love Nebbiolo, if you love tannins, please enjoy the Barolo and Barbaresco quite young.
Okay. I have learned a lot today. 希望今天的这段访问呢，可以让大家更了解柠檬区，也就是 Piemonte 的酒款，还有 Pio Cesare 这个100年以上的品牌，140年。那更重要的是呢，跟着呢时代的演进，现在我们呢想要喝到双 B 的酒款，也不用担心需要等5年、10年以后。年轻的酒王呢，跟酒后呢，也有令人着迷的活力跟魅力。感谢 Cesare Benvenuto 呢来到台湾呢，陪我威爸还有大家一起喝果汁，然后分享真的是很难从网络上找得到的一些故事跟知识。跟我一起威爸喝果汁 ，Salute
Salute, salute, 谢谢。
Oh yeah. Excellent.